Welcome to our podcast, Learn Biblical Greek, brought to you by Dr. William Stewart, the co-founder of Teleios. This captivating podcast teaches you biblical Greek through a verse-by-verse study of the book of Ephesians, interjecting Greek grammar, Greek word meanings, and vital theology concepts. Thanks for joining us on this exciting biblical journey. Your study will be more effective if you use the Greek text with the Bible word codes, either on the eSword download or Bible Hub website. These links are on our podcast website at www.teliosresearch.com.
Hi, I'm William Stewart. Welcome back to our podcast on learning biblical Greek. We're going through Ephesians 1. We're learning Greek. We're about the grammar, the words, and how important they are in helping us to better understand God our Father and Jesus Christ. And we are learning also a little theology added into this as well. Great passage on the benefits of our salvation. We start verse 8 today, so let's start. First word, and again, hopefully you have your New Testament Greek open and the eSword or Bible Hub. Eta S, is, okay? Remember the short words are typically a conjunction or a relative pronoun, an article. In this case, it looks like an article, but it doesn't have the T in front, as it would if it's a dative, genitive, or accusative case. So it's is, so it looks like a feminine singular genitive, and indeed that's what it is. Now, a relative pronoun replaces the actual noun from the prior phrase. And remember, this whole section, first half of Ephesians 1, is really one long run-on sentence, something that we would have gotten an F for in English composition, but this is what the Greeks did. They didn't have punctuation, which contributed to this. So it makes the conjunctions like is very important. So it refers back to the grace, charis, in the prior verse. So which he lavished upon us. Here's the word perisotusin, sufsin. Again, I'm having explained this, I'm trying to use modern Greek in how I'm saying these words. So in case you ever go to Greek, you can at least pronounce things semi-correctly, as I guess the best an American can do, trying to pronounce modern Greek. But I'm not using the classical articulation of these words as might be found in a Greek grammar. So that EU sound is a uf, so perisufsin. And so again, this is a aorist. Remember the punctiliar, one-time action. So we have the epsilon in the front, the E, indicating that it's past tense, but the specifier to the tense is at S and E. Okay, after perisuf, the root, SE is there. It should be SA, but remember in the third person singular, that A becomes an E to differentiate it from the first person. So that indicates it's an aorist, third person singular, confirmed with the N on the end, SEN. So that gives you the specifier, what I call the specifier, for the gender number and, not the gender, but the person and number at the end. Okay, lavished. Is, into, okay, takes the accusative, going towards something with the accusative. Imas, so that's the accusative, we. We've seen this plenty of times. That AS, remember these pronouns take the third declension set of endings, the original endings without contractions, as we see in the first and second declension. So that AS is a masculine, plural accusative ending. In, there's that most common preposition again, meaning in English, in something, by, on top, by means of, and posse, which is all. And the dative, in takes the dative because it's there, standing still. That eta is consistent with a dative ending, feminine, singular. It looks like it would in the nominative singular feminine. However, to be technical, it has a iota with it, because remember, dative has the I attached to the root, but you don't see it there because it is subscript. There's a little mark below the alpha or a called a subscript that generally is not included in the Greek text. So you have to imagine it if you're so inclined. So it looks like the nominative. Technically, it is not. The dative has that iota subscript, just looks like an alpha or eta. So Sophia, again, same thing. The A has an iota subscript that's in the dative singular feminine. Kai, and, non-declinable, most common word, meaning adding to the same thought. Phronesis, one of my favorite Greek words, and it comes from the word diaphragm, phrenesis, where we get in anatomy phrenic nerve. That's the nerve that runs from the brain directly to the diaphragm that enables us to breathe without thinking about it. It's automatic. So the Greeks personified body parts. So since the heart, who was, what a person is, sat on the diaphragm or sits in the diaphragm in anatomy, then they imagined that the diaphragm was the basis of all knowledge and moral and ethical decisions. So it's a big deal, this word. It means everything a person is that controls their heart, controls who they are. Now, there's how this changes from the SIS ending to the EI ending. I apologize, I don't completely understand. The I, William Mount says the I disappears, and then called an oblate, disappearing. But we also see a I that's added for the dative, and the E is there. Why I'm not quite sure. So I apologize for that. I will say a lot of my changes in the words is coming from William Mouse's book on the morphology of New Testament Greek, or just Greek. And it's a great book, and just an amazing work that he created to help us understand word changes in the Greek. And I'm not as smart as he is, and I hope I didn't mispronounce his name, but his book is in our word or book list on the website. Okay, so what do we see here? That God's grace was lavished upon us out of his wisdom and ethical, moral knowledge. Okay, so it shows God's attitude in bringing us salvation. It wasn't done he wasn't capricious. He wasn't being vindictive, of course, from those people who wouldn't accept him. He did it out of wisdom, basically, and knowledge. Really, the only way he could have done it. We have other hints in this passage of God's attitude in bringing us salvation. We learned earlier from verse 6, he did it out of his good pleasure. And verse 4, he did it out of his giving love, agape love. Okay, thanks for bearing with me. Glad you're here. We'll start verse 9 next time in this amazing passage. I'll look forward to seeing you then.